Children do not choose authenticity. Given the choice, they choose attachment. If a child's curiosity threatens their sense of belonging, the curiosity disappears. If their anger threatens a parent's love, the anger is hidden. If softness gets mocked by peers, the softness is tucked away. But those traits are not lost. They are only buried. Over time, this curation creates the ego. This is the conscious center of our personality, the story we accumulate and tell ourselves about who we are, based on the traits our environment permitted us to keep. We split ourselves into accepted and unacceptable pieces. Growing up inherently requires fracturing our psychological wholeness in order to survive in a structured world. To navigate that structured world, we construct a persona. This is the mask we wear to conform to societal norms and professional expectations. Modern culture often treats this mask as something deceitful. It isn't. It is a highly practical tool. Doctors need a persona to treat patients objectively. Teachers, creators, and parents rely on them to function safely in public. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung mapped this architecture of the mind, observing how heavily we rely on these constructs. The psychological crisis does not come from wearing the mask. Suffering begins the exact moment the ego mistakes the mask for the actual face. When we believe we are only the roles we play, we isolate ourselves from our buried traits. This mistaken identity leads directly to the stagnation and hollow feelings so many experience in the middle of their lives. Beneath that mask lies the unconscious. Pop culture often frames it as a basement full of monsters. But Jung understood it as a vast, living reservoir containing our unlived life, our intuition, our play, and wonder. Within that reservoir is a specific territory called the shadow. This is where we banish the characteristics we deem unadapted to our daily routines. Most people assume shadow work means digging up everything ugly or evil about themselves. That misreads the landscape entirely. Take a look at this conceptual map of the psyche. You have the small, illuminated circle of the ego at the top and the vast shadow below. Notice those bright nodes trapped in the dark area. This is the golden shadow. We bury deeply positive qualities like confidence, ambition, humor, and wildness simply because our early environment didn't allow them. As long as those bright nodes remain cut off, the conscious personality stays weak and incomplete. We lack the full strength of our own character. Because these traits demand to be recognized, we engage in projection. We take our unintegrated shadow elements, both the brilliant and the terrible, and project them onto heroes and villains in the real world. Every irrational hatred you feel toward a stranger, and every intense, unexplainable attraction is an exiled piece of your own psyche demanding your attention. You cannot access this hidden territory using logic. The unconscious does not speak a literal language. It communicates entirely through symbols, myths, feelings, and dreams. Jung spent years documenting his own encounters with this imagery in a massive illustrated journal known as the Red Book. To heal a fractured mind, we have to stop trying to logic our way out of pain. We must learn to translate the emotional imagery of our hidden depths. The modern internet is flooded with advice about killing the ego to achieve constant self-optimization. Jung firmly rejected that idea. Ego death is a destructive goal. Without a healthy ego, there is no conscious center to process and integrate your lived experiences. This visualization illustrates Jung's alternative, individuation. Instead of destroying the ego, the conscious mind deliberately extends connections downward, pulling unconscious elements into the light. This requires radical self-acceptance, accepting your character flaws, mistakes, and suffering, pulling everything into a single unified web. The goal of psychological development is never achieving pristine perfection. It is expanding your capacity to hold your own contradictions. Imagine trying to create a thriving forest using only oak trees. The ecosystem would collapse. A healthy psyche works the exact same way. It cannot survive on a single trait like logic, or discipline, or softness. It requires a diversity of archetypes to function. The frightened child, the fierce protector, the wild dreamer, and the shadow. None of these were mistakes to be eradicated. All of these fractured parts of yourself are merely waiting to belong to one another in a unified, harmonious relationship. Jung wrote that a human life is an experiment of nature. It is an attempt to create a completely unique synthesis of traits that has never existed before. True wholeness is not the absence of darkness. It is the courage to carry your entire internal landscape with compassion, because the greatest journey we take is across the landscape of our own inner world. If you enjoyed this exploration, subscribe to our Human Atlas, because understanding the quiet truths within ourselves is how we learn to stop abandoning each other and find our truest place within the larger living world.